So what is my background? Well, I grew up in a broken home. I was adopted about 11 years old, and I moved in with a family who took me in. My original parents had 7 children that were all fairly abused and were later put up for adoption around the same time. I was the second youngest, but we were all sent out to different families around the time when I was 11. For the next few years, I lived with this family. Had major trust issues. Never trusted them. Did a lot for them, and had these covert contracts with them that I would do a lot of work for them, and in return they would give me love, not believing I deserved any kind of love whatsoever. And as I grew older and older, these covert contracts didn't pay off because they were giving me more love than I could imagine that I was worth. And I've had depression since I can remember, since I was 10 years old. Depression, anxiety, constantly nagging at me every day. I soon developed a vice of pornography, horrible addiction. It's ruined my life for 10 years. I didn't even know it was a problem till later on when I started reading some forums about how devastating the effects were, and realized that every time I partook in something like that, it was ruining my life, and it was lying to me. I was lying to myself. I was continually telling myself that it was okay. Until one day it wasn't. It wasn't okay. I learned the truth. I learned the truth that everybody tries to hide from you for years. Wrecked my life. Put me in a state of depression, anxiety. I haven't been able to hold on to a job. I work extremely hard, but I end up dissatisfied with every job I'm with after a few short years. Can't focus on anything or complete projects. My life started turning around when I realized that I was doing something wrong. But I was lying to myself. I was lying to the people around me. I was keeping these secrets bottled up inside, afraid that one day the world would figure out and punish me for everything I deserved. Constantly living in fear. Well, all that gets you badly. I had thoughts of suicide. I had thoughts of just wondering if anybody would miss me. I felt wretched. I didn't even like myself. Hated myself. Hated what I was doing. I've been on my own since roughly 18. I've worked extremely hard. I've made decent money. Nothing great. I still don't believe during that time I thought that I was worth any of the money that I was getting. I constantly wondered every single day when one of my bosses was going to come up to me and figure out the truth, that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Even when I excelled and when I beat numbers, when I reached milestones that my colleagues didn't, I never for 1 second thought that I was actually accomplishing something. And I always lived in fear that one day would be the day that I would get fired for not knowing what I was doing. What I didn't realize is I was hitting the top, and I didn't just feel like I deserved anything. I didn't feel like I deserved any praise. When I got awards and recognition, I felt awkward. I felt disgusting because I knew what everybody else didn't know. That inside, you're just a little, you're nothing. You're a piece of trash. Nobody wants you. Your parents don't even want you. You're a piece of trash. You have these disgusting addictions. That's what I felt day after day. After day after day. And it wears on you bad. never feeling like anything is good enough, wondering when it's going to catch up to you that you're a fucking fraud, wondering when you'll be left alone because people will find out how disgusting you are. I had had enough. I spent a year and a half trying to beat my addiction once I learned the truth about it. Always reverting back. I was bored. Only thing that piqued my interest was my addiction. I lived like a zombie. That was a hard road for me. It seemed like the more I learned and the more self-improvement I took, the more I understood the underlying truth about myself, and it just got harder and harder and harder to bear. As I peeled back the layers of what my life is that I'd covered up for so long, I started to realize just who I was underneath. I was confronting this monster. I was confronting Satan himself. And it broke me. It broke me hard. And I realized that it wasn't worth it, that I wasn't going to do this anymore. I made a commitment a year and a half before I finally stopped my addiction for good. I made a commitment. You've got to try something. Just do anything. And I did. I tried and I tried, and I didn't trust anybody around me. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust to tell anybody at all. I couldn't be accountable to anybody because I knew deep down that even my accountability partner would have disgusted me. Couldn't believe that anybody would love me enough to even slightly understand my condition, where I was coming from. And it's a miracle that I didn't go farther and experiment more with drugs and it's a miracle. But here I am on the other side. It does work. You gotta stick with it. I don't want anybody to have to feel this anymore. I hate this feeling. It's been nagging at me. I know I have a purpose. I know happiness to me is making sure that nobody is alone. Nobody is stuck in this place. Nobody's close enough to suicide to contemplate it because they feel the same way, that nobody else around them is going to help and that can't trust anybody. It's a horrible feeling. 7 billion people in the world and you feel like you're the one who can't trust anybody. You don't know. Can't trust a therapist. They get paid. You pay them to tell you what's wrong. They make money off of keeping you there. These are all the thoughts I had. You can barely trust the people you're with. Spouses, it doesn't matter. You can't trust friends who've been there for you for years. At some point, it gets so bad, you have to tell yourself, what the hell do I have to lose? You have to be willing to sacrifice it all. My little money that I made, my house, my cars, I started to think to myself, what the hell could I have to lose if I give up everything in search of a different path? What the hell could I possibly have to lose? I've always been able to feed myself and house myself and at least keep myself together enough to dress nicely, to present myself well. I've never had a job interview that I failed. But I knew deep down that while I could put up this front, it couldn't last long. And to me, it wasn't worth it. And started to think, what the hell do I have to lose? What the hell are you going to lose these images of people that you've built and lied up over the years, people that you've told one thing and you have to keep track of your lies to them so you know what to tell them next time you see them if you want to see them again. You're hating the fact that you might run into somebody at a grocery store you told a lie to. If you took advantage of somebody to further yourself, you're afraid that you're going to run into them around town. You don't go out because you're afraid. It just makes you more afraid to think about going out, because who are you going to see and who are you going to have to lie to again to cover your tracks? When you realize all you have to do to change your life is to stop lying to yourself, that is a powerful feeling. When you realize things can be different, you can have what you want. You can start to realize that there is life, that there is more than just despair and depression and anxiety. No matter what your case, it can be anything. When you start to realize that you can have these things, that you can make money, that you can help other people, that you can make sure people aren't going through the same things that you're going through. It's a powerful thing. It drives you, it makes you want to improve, it makes you want to take small steps every day just to make today a little bit better than yesterday. And before you know it, relationships get better. Relationships get better. You start to have new ideas. You start to have ideas about new things you can do. It's like the dam is open and the flood waters carry you away. And your next best problem that you have is making sure you stay focused. Because your mind, with this new enlightenment, wants to carry you in all the directions that you wanted to go for the last 10 years. It wants to catch up. It wants to conquer the world. It wants to take over. It wants to make sure that you never fall into that again. And so it takes you. And you're flowing with the river. It is just taking you away. That's a good problem to have. When I started my journey, I was listening to Grant Cardone, the sales trainer. And his line, if you have problems, everyone's going to have problems. What you want to do is choose your problems. You want to have little problems, like a flat tire? Or do you want to focus on big problems? That flat tire is a flat tire on an airplane that you own. You have to choose your problems. I would much rather have my problem as a dam of ideas that burst open. And my biggest problem is making sure I have a raft or I have an anchor. That's the problem I hope to have. Addiction today, I don't want to have that problem. I want my problem to be, I'm so busy, I don't have time to eat. I forget that I'm hungry because I'm caught up in my work and my purpose. If you don't have time for your addiction, you can't do your addiction. If you're not in the right space for your addiction, then you can't have that addiction. If you're getting rid of the friends and family members who were poisonous to you, that all they made you want to do is relapse into your addiction, if you lose those people and you change your state of mind, you can't have your addiction. Not only that, you don't want your addiction. When you stop lying to yourself, you start to realize just how wicked and evil addiction is. And you won't want to have any part of it. And it'll give you the chance to stand up. It'll give you the chance to stand up against it and go, no, not today. You'll begin to trust people with your secrets. But you better be wise so you're not hurt and not tempted to go back. You'll start to trust people to help you out. You'll start to trust yourself. You'll start to give yourself more responsibility. You'll start to give yourself more ability to do things. You'll tell yourself it's okay to do these things. You'll tell yourself, hey, take responsibility. You can handle it now. You'll start to pile work on. You'll start to pile influence on because you know, look, I've been through hell. And I know people out there are going through hell as well. And I can help them. It's time to stand up. It really is. It's time to stand up. It's time to stop lying to yourself. It's time to make that commitment. The commitment that says, look, enough is enough. I don't care who the hell I lose, what the hell I lose. It's not worth it. What the hell do I have to lose? I've already alienated people around me. Everyone knows I'm a liar anyway. So if I'm willing to lie to them, then I should be willing to lose them too. So if somebody hates you for the new step you take, so be it. Because they were going to hold you back anyway. If you have something that's holding you back, a hobby, a habit, whatever it is that you know is a bad deal that puts you in a situation where you're going to use again, get rid of it. What the hell do you have to lose? If everybody in the world stops talking to you that you know, you still got over 7 billion new people to talk to. And I guarantee you, more of them will want to understand you and you can help them. So be it. What the hell do you have to lose? If you're going to take people out of your life that have been holding you back for years, what the hell do you have to lose? You resent them anyway, and you don't even know why you resent them, but you resent them because you've built them up in your heads, and maybe it's for good reason, and maybe it's for not a good reason. But they have to understand just the same way that they understand. You have to focus on you because you sure as hell can't help anybody if you're broken. You can barely help yourself. You can't help anybody if you're broken. All you can help is yourself. If you don't have any money, you can't give anybody money. If you don't have any time, you can't give anybody time. Work towards making yourself a better person so that you can help other people become better people. So that you can help them in the future. You can say, hey, I've been through hell. I have walked through the valley of the shadow of death. I have felt death looming. I've made a hell for myself. For 25 years, all it's been is hell. And you wake up and you're on the other side and it's bright and there's a future and you don't know what the hell you're going to do, but you know you have a purpose and a fire. You've been through hell and you're on fire. You're lit up, ready to go. You are ready to make a difference. You're ready to bring some light to somebody else's life. You're ready to be a better version of yourself than you ever were. And you got to make that commitment. You got to stand by it. Because if you make that commitment and you're not serious about it, then you are going to fall. And you're going to keep falling. And it's going to be worse than you thought it could be. And you're going to think, why? Why have I tortured myself? So you better make that commitment and make it today. And it better be the truth. And you better have that fire behind you, and you better be able to look over your shoulder and see hell one step back and know that you're not ever going near that line again. You want to look back and see a hell on the horizon and see after a few years of good decisions and being truthful and honest, you want to see a green pasture between you and hell and understand that could be gone in a second if you start reliving your old ways. If you don't stand up and become a man, stand up and become the woman that you want to be, stand up and stop lying to yourself, stop lying to the people around you, you'll see that hell back there and you'll thank God every day that you were able to get through it and that you had enough courage to overcome it. that the devil was right there on the edge and he challenged you every time, and he'd push you back and he'd shove you, and then one day you went through and he can't do anything. You're on the other side, but you know you went through it. And it's my job and my plan to make sure people aren't going through that. I want to make sure that people are fighting their demons and fighting the devil on the first try and not the 25-year try. I want to make sure that people aren't falling back and getting pushed around by the devil, getting shoved back, that they're not being held back by their people, that the people who really want you to succeed are the people you should be keeping around. I want people to know that they shouldn't keep living in those dreadful times, that there is something on the outside. I remember through my journey listening to YouTube videos and going over and listening to hours and hours of self-help and reading self-help books and just reading hours and hours and listening to hours of podcasts and listening to YouTube videos and watching YouTube videos, and I would get just a little bit from each one. Just a little bit from each one. And those have saved me. I was getting just a little bit of information, a little to build my courage up, a few more weapons to fight the devil with. I was getting a few packs of water to douse my burned skin from being in hell. I was getting just a little bit of help from each one. And before you know it, I had an arsenal of weapons. I had self-esteem. I had a little bit of courage. And I was encouraged. I was given the ability to understand that things could be different. I was given the ability to understand that you could have a different life. That it didn't have to be this way. That you didn't have to live for somebody who's had influence over you. For me, it was my brother. I used to think I would go to church, but what would Brian think of me? I used to think to myself, well, I could be a much better person and not rip people off, but what would Brian think of me? I could be a great person and a great husband or a great boyfriend, but what would Brian think of me? I used to have a demented view of what it meant to be a man, because I would think to myself, what would Brian think of me if I didn't drink? What would Brian, and it was just a lie to myself. People hold way too much over your head than they should be able to. You make monsters out of everybody that you shouldn't. You want to please everybody so much that you neglect yourself. When really, if you're not the right person, then that person, the other person who's holding you down, is not going to be the right person for you as well. But you know what? There are a million other people to take the place of one person. What the hell do you have to lose? I remember thinking to myself during that time that people were going to shun me for what I was doing. That I was daring to learn and challenge myself. That I was daring to challenge anybody else out there. That I was daring to go against the status quo that says take prescription pills so you can ease your depression. I knew deep down that was another lie and a scapegoat to myself. If I took anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication, in my case, it would have made me feel worse. Because I would have known deep down that I'm not doing the things that I need to do, and I'm using a pill to escape that responsibility. And these things work for some people who have chemical imbalances, who have hormonal imbalances that do need it. But for me, I knew deep down this is something you need to accomplish. This is a hell that you need to get out of yourself, because you've dug the hole, you just as well climb out. It is your responsibility. And once I started thinking in those terms and giving myself responsibility that I've been casting upon others for years, I realized that It really was something I could do. Do I have a great, empowering day every day? Hell no. But every day I get up and in a frantic mode, I am thinking to myself, what can I do to make sure that I have the most productive day today? What do I need to do to make sure I'm fulfilling my potential today? I have an urgency behind me when I wake up. I have an urgency to tackle the day. I have an urgency to wake up, to eat the right foods, to work out. I have an urgency to make sure that I'm watching videos that empower me. I have an urgency to make sure I'm reading books. And I have an urgency to make sure that I don't fall behind. Because when I look back and I see that devil, I remember what it's like to feel miserable, to feel like I'm in a valley of despair. I know what it's like. And I have the fire from that and the scars from that to know that I better not slip down. I know that at any point it could come back. So I wake up with an urgency in the mornings. And I didn't always have that urgency. There were days I pushed myself out of bed, and there were days I failed where I stayed in bed an extra hour. But don't give up. You might have a bad day, but seriously self-reflect and see where that day went wrong so you're not putting yourself in that again. If I eat carbs and sugar every day before bed and I wake up in a hangover state in the morning, I know when I wake up this is going to be a bad day and I've done this to myself, but I would turn right around and realize, hey, get up. You've got somebody to help. You've got somebody's life to change. Go out and look at people on the street. You never know who you're going to be able to touch, who you're going to be able to help. I walked around like a zombie when no one asked me what my problem was for years. People like me can hide it extremely well and pretend to be happy. Most of the time they're not. They're miserable. They're putting a face on for everybody. They want everybody to think that everything's okay because they don't feel like they're worth anybody's help. It's up to you to realize that you can help these people. But you have to become healthy first. You have to start exercising. You have to start eating the right foods. And once you start asking yourselves the questions that really matter, how do I get better? What's wrong with me? What can I change today to make a small impact? What have I done that's got me in this? The only question you shouldn't be asking is, who else can I blame for this? What else can I blame for this? It is me. How did I get myself in this position? Why did I let that other person manipulate me? It's not their fault for manipulating you. You knew they were manipulative. It's not their fault. They are doing what they know how to do. You allowed that in. You knew what was happening. You let it happen. How did I let this person into my life? How did I let them stay there? How did I let them continue to push me around? How did I let them talk down to me? How did I let them control and rule me? Same with your habits. How did I let it control me? It's not the drug. It's not the addiction that's got you. You've got it. You've got it, and it's up to you to turn it around. You've got the bad attitude. The bad attitude doesn't have you. Let go of it. You can realize that there is peace. There is a way that you can get ahead. There's peace. Actual peace. Not a drunken state that you get to every Friday night through Sunday, where false peace takes over because you're drunk. There's peace without relying on chemicals. There's peace without relying on humor and mindsets and making everybody else happy before yourself. There's peace in actually being alone with yourself without relying on a crutch or a vice. There's actual peace. But you have to You have to seek it out. You have to want it. You have to commit to it. You have to not turn against it. You have to long for it. You have to get serious. You have to have a whatever the hell it takes attitude. You have to think, what the hell do I care? You've already lost everything else. You've lied to everybody else. You've lied to yourself. What the hell do you have to lose to better your life? Weekends, nights, whenever you get a chance, during your lunch break. Read books. Listen to YouTube. Listen to podcasts. Watch videos. Go meet with people. If you don't want to go meet with people like I didn't, then don't. If it's going to make you uncomfortable, don't. But at some point, you're going to want to. You're going to get to the point where you go, I want to meet with a group of people. I want to get out. I want to learn from these people. You shed this shade over your eyes that says everybody's out to get you. You shed that and you start to want to meet people. You start to want to learn more. Your friends are going to laugh at you. Hey, come on down to the bar with us on Friday. And you're going to say, no, I'm going to the library. Or, I don't think so. I'm going on a retreat by myself this weekend to make sure that I'm in a good headspace. They're going to say, come on down. It's just Saturday. We'll have a barbecue and have a bunch of whiskey or beer. We'll smoke some marijuana. We'll all indulge in our fantasies. Then we'll go back to work on Monday and pretend we're all happy too. It'll be a great time and we'll all have something to talk about until the next Friday. And they're going to laugh at you and go, hey, why haven't I seen you for the last 3 weeks? What's going on? They're going to laugh at you and they're going to poke at you. And the only reason they're doing that is because they see what's happening. You're transforming. You're able to live a life without vices. And you're able to live a life without conforming to everybody else. And living for yourself and your own improvement. And they're going to become envious. And they're going to, oh, that stuff's for idiots. Oh, you're less of a man because you have to look up ways to be more of a man. They're going to look down on you and they're going to cast doubt on you, but you know the truth. It's them who need the help. And when you're strong enough, you might be the one to help them out and give them the certain words that they needed to hear to change their own lives in the way that you're changing theirs. It's addictive. People want to improve their lives, but they'll only improve their lives when it gets bad enough that they have to, or else there has to be a turning point. But they shouldn't have to beat you down, and you shouldn't have to rely on them if they're going to beat you down. If you lose all your friends because of your transforming to a better person, then that's exactly what you have to do. Be willing to give up everything. Put it all on the cross. Hang it out there. Be willing to admit your own responsibility, and at some point you will go from hating yourself because of your habits to wanting to tell people how bad your habits were to make sure that they never experience it again. You'll go from being disgusted with yourself for your years of abuse. You'll want to go to telling people just how bad it was for you, and you'll want to tell people what you're doing now that's changed, and you'll want to tell people just how badly you've fallen, because you want people to know that it can get worse. So stand up, commit to something higher, get out there and do something a little bit every day that you don't want to. And I promise you, your life will get better. You'll start to see more opportunities blossom in front of you. You'll start to have better ideas, and you'll start to have more money come in, and you'll start to realize that things can get better, and you'll have a purpose that you're working towards. And nothing at all can take away that. Nobody can take away that spirit within you, that longing that you always knew you had for something higher than just sitting behind a desk and drinking the weekends away just so you could sit behind a desk again Monday morning. You'll know that feeling isn't the real feeling. You'll know deep down in your heart, this is my higher purpose. You're going to realize I'm enlightened. You're going to realize this is my higher calling, to make sure that people aren't in this again. You're going to want people with similar experiences to make sure that they change their attitudes 10 years before you did. You're going to convey in an articulate manner that things can get worse, and here's how you stop them from getting worse. Here's how you don't let yourself fall into those. Here's how you have urgency. Here's how you have purpose. Here's how you tackle every demon you see with the confidence and courage to push forward, that when you go to a grocery store, you're happy to see those old people because it is a chance to change their lives as well as yours. You're going to be happy to go out in public and make a fool of yourself to make sure that one person gets helped. And when you're ready to do that, you'll know, this is what I was here for. These are the things that I need to do. So go do it.